with the first step, which is warm up. In order to hold your headstand, you really need to have a strong core and a strong mula bandha. So mula bandha is the internal lock located around Muladhara chakra, the perineum area. So to warm up, you're just going to take all four posture. Bring your shoulders over the wrists, the hips over the knees. We're going to tuck the toes under, and then we're going to add a tilt of the pelvis, sending the tailbone down slightly so you can really suck the navel in towards your spine. Look forwards. Take a deep inhale through the nose. And on the exhale, you're going to lift your knees just a few centimeters or even just millimeters off the floor. Make sure that you keep your shoulders over your wrists, that you don't collapse forward or back. Make sure you push the mat away from you. You don't collapse on the mat. You're always pushing away, creating space in between your shoulder blades. You can look towards the mat. Take 2 more deep inhale and exhale. 1 more inhale and 1 more exhale. Then release the knees and sit onto your heels. You can repeat that exercise as much as you want. You can also practice a plank position on your hands or on your forearms. Any warm-up which is going to fire up your abs. Once you're ready, we're going to start with positioning the hands to practice the classic headstand. So in the classic headstand, we usually interlace the fingers and we drop the hands and the forearms onto the mat. So we have a strong, stable base. The position of the hands and the forearms should take the shape of a triangle on the mat. Try to make sure that you're not opening your triangle too much by opening your elbows too much. Your elbows should not be wider than your shoulders. Then you're going to open your hands and you're going to place your head just in front of your hands so that you can wrap your hands on top of your head, on the back of the head. So, just going to move my hair out of the way. Bring your head onto the mat. If you have a ponytail, sometimes it helps because your ponytail usually sits in between your thumbs. You have the top of the head onto the mat and your hands are resting and wrapping the back of the head. You have your elbows onto the mat, which are not wider than your shoulders. Then from here, tuck the toes under and lift your hips high. So here you should already feel like there is a lot of weight onto your head. So to mitigate this, you really have to depress your shoulders, which means to send them down. By doing so, you're going to feel your elbows pushing into the ground. So if you don't feel it on your shoulder level, just think about really grounding and pushing your elbows into the mat. So from here, if you start pushing your elbows into the mat, you will feel like it's removed some of the weight from the top of your head. So this is the first step. Try to feel comfortable with having your head on the mat and your weight spread onto that triangle with your legs extended. Once you're comfortable here, which means that you can really be conscious and aware that you're pushing the elbows into the ground, the next step is to walk your feet closer to your face. So for that, it's easier if the back of your leg is open. Then you can bend one foot, bend one leg, bring the foot towards the bum. When you're comfortable here, you can do the same with the other leg. You bend the leg and you bring the foot. Keep pointing the foot so that your leg is not like a dead weight. You can practice this either on your mat or on your mat against the wall. If you're scared of falling on the other side, you can practice against the wall or even against your couch. Once you're comfortable bringing one leg at a time toward your bum, and you can still push the elbows into the ground as you're doing this, pointing the toes. The first step towards balancing on your head is to keep your legs bent and just to bring both feet towards your bum. From here, you will feel like you have to really squeeze your lower abs to send your bum towards the sky, slightly towards the back, to align the hips with the shoulders and the head. Same here, you point the toes, you keep your core engaged, you depress the shoulders, and you push the elbows into the ground. Once you're comfortable doing this, you can start extending one leg up and the other leg up. So that's how to get there step by step. Once you're comfortable doing the step-by-step exercise, the next interesting exercise is to try and do a pike press. So with your head onto the mat, as always, the elbows towards one another. Lift your bum up, walk your feet, keep the legs extended, and try to lift them both at the same time, keeping them extended. Once you're up, you always squeeze Mula Bandha, squeeze your lower abs, push the elbows into the ground, and then slowly send your bum towards the back to balance and send your feet down. So that's how to get into your classic headstand. Now, number 2, tripod headstand. Some people find it easier, some people find it harder. For me, I felt like it was less stable when I started, so I found it slightly harder, but it really depends on people. It's a very interesting one because I feel like the intermediate step, where you're not straightening the legs up, but you're already balancing on your head and on your hands, is more comfortable, so you can stay there for longer and really learn to get familiar with the sensation. So, to start, it's exactly the same thing, a triangle as a base. But instead of having your forearms onto the mat, this time you have your fingers spread and only the palm of the hand. You bring your head onto the mat and you look towards your knees. Your hands are shoulder width distance apart, and you should always be able to see the tip of your fingers from where your head is. If you can't see the tip of the fingers, like if you're here, the position is not going to be right. Your head should be where you can see the tip of the fingers. So this is, you're going to have, that way you're going to have a 90-degree angle here, which helps with stability. So once you have the right position, same thing, tuck the toes under, lift the bum, sorry. We're always going to have the tendency to let the elbows fall towards the side, so really bring them back in, as if you had magnets inside your elbows that were attracting the other side. Push your hand into the ground, so the same way we were pushing the elbow into the ground to spread the weight, in this variation, we are pushing the palm of the hand into the ground. Then you can walk your feet closer. So as you see, it brings my bum in line with my shoulders when I do this. Then you can bend one knee and bring the knee onto the back of your bicep, on your tricep. And maybe you can do the same with the other leg. So that's the intermediate position that I was talking about. With your knees resting on your triceps, pushing the hands into the ground so that it spreads the weight on the 3 touch points. It's sometimes a position which is slightly more comfortable to keep. So you can try this. Be comfortable and still in this posture, always hugging the elbows together and pushing the hands into the ground to spread the weight. Once you're in this position and you're comfortable, maybe you can start lifting one leg up or lifting the other leg up. And this is the time when you're really going to have to fire up those lower abs to squeeze the perineum area so you have control over the tilting of your pelvis. So, with your head on the ground, you see the tip of the fingers, you bring the elbows in, you walk the feet forward, you bring the knees onto the triceps, and maybe here you can start lifting one leg up, always pointing the toes. And you do the same thing on the other side. And eventually, by pushing the hands into the ground, you can start lifting both legs up. You can keep them bent to start with, and eventually you can extend them. And same thing as for the classic headstand. You can try and get into your tripod headstand with a pike press, so with your legs extended. As always, use a wall if you feel like you're going to fall onto the other side. We don't want to get hurt. Go there step by step. Don't be frustrated. Don't have expectations. And just enjoy the journey.